Okay, what did you see interview?
This was King's second foray into our show. He's a very brave man. We enjoyed their tour when they came out. What a kick-ass show. We'll talk about that as well. Always look forward to conversations. You never know where they're going to go. And we can't also wait to go to that DC show later. So let's get into it. Believe me, never a dull moment.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been sitting here plotting our plan for Maryland Death Fest. I always got to print everything out and draw diagrams and
It can be crazy, especially they set it up some odd ways. Some of those years, some of that stuff, like you're like inside of a centipede's belly or something. Some of those rooms can be pretty freaky.
All right, I got to give you credit for not just the Hawaiian T-shirt. You've got the old school. Was that Struck Down era?
Yeah, this is the very first album. If you can,
yeah. Oh, first album. Yeah, yeah. Before, when they were the
actually have
full
it on
yesterday and
too.
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show you guys had two different Hawaiian T-shirts going.
Yeah, we're Y&T crazy lately, I guess.
Yeah.
Been super busy. Just got my voice back, and we were in the studio cutting like 6 new tracks, or 6 songs for this upcoming thing. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but just today can actually talk again.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that comes in handy for an interview.
Yeah, it helps, right?
So I noticed since we last spoke, you were included in the soundtrack of the Underground Civilization DC death metal in the 90s. Do you feel like they captured the scene properly? Is there anything that you think that they missed or you would have added?
There's always things they missed. Good friends of mine, we all put that together. A lot of that footage came through me and friends of mine. I think they did a hell of a job on that movie. Matt and Andy from Morbius, they did a really nice job. I mean, there's always more things. I tried to talk about it when they'd interviewed me, just how it kind of went up and kind of went down. Like it was going so good, everything, but all of us were so fucked up on something, whether it be just I was drinking a lot, they were doing a lot of drugs, and it kind of in the long run kind of hurt us. At the time, we were just young and just crazy. But I mean, they captured it. I mean, there was other bands and things like that. We could have talked about some of the other bands too, and some more of the clubs besides where they went. Those were the big ones, and the parties and just. I mean, there's always more with me. I'm so I like to have every moment of everything included in anything.
Oh yeah,
we have to stop something, but they really did do a nice job for the movie. It was really cool. I actually saw that when it premiered a few years ago down in DC. They actually played it on the big screen, so a bunch of people came out. And my thing back then was we'd play shows. I give it to death. I call this the death metal hand. Let's see the death metal hand. So at the end of the thing, they were like, "King, you got anything to say?" Since you're kind of the grandpa in the room, I was like, "Let's see the death metal hand." So they did a nice job, though. They really did.
Well, when they eventually make, which of course is definitely going to happen, when they make the full motion picture on Deceased and King Fowley's life, I want to know who would play you and who would direct it.
Well, direct it. That's kind of hard to say. Who would play me? I don't know. I always had this running joke, and it's now it's no longer because I'm now two of them. But I was always like Bobby Blotzer from Rat. I'd like, yeah, this is blah blah blah. This is blah blah blah, and I'm still Bobby Blotzer from Rat. One time we had a similar haircut. Man, this must have been 1,000 years ago. But as an actor playing me, I don't know who would play me in this day and age. I really don't even know who the hell's out there anymore. It would just have to be somebody. I mean, I'd like it to be John Candy if I could ask somebody with a little less. Of course, we can't do that now. But I guess if he's playing the deceased part, that's bad. That's bad humor. And direct it wise, I really don't know who could direct it. I mean, all my favorite directors are horror movie guys. I don't know. Maybe I'll direct it.
There you go.
Maybe I'll give it a shot. Let us see if we can get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can give them all the little subtleties. No, I do death metal hands this way.
I remember, speaking of Bobby Blotzer, I remember interviews with him in like the early 2000s when Rat was going through 500 different lawsuits. And he was so excited. He was like, "We just played the Oklahoma State Fair as Bobby Blotzer's Rat." And you could just tell this is going to end horribly. You are going to be sued so badly. But he refused to acknowledge it throughout the interview. And of course, the whole thing came to a crashing horrible end,
They're so fucked up. They're so messed up these days.
And I'll tell you what, though, it's really a shame, though, because you listen to those Rat albums are fantastic. I mean, Out of the Cellar sounds great. The Invasion of Your Privacy, Beau Hill's production, unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it
he definitely
just
got that pop metal sensibility down perfect for
it's
that.
like it's like early Van Halen stuff. It's so it just it's such a shame that they all fucked it up so bad, you know.
That was the first concert I ever tried to get into the Bayou. I wasn't old enough, and I actually bought the last ticket. That it was a funny day. Here's a crazy story. So, Rat. Here we are talking to King Fowley about Rat. And that day, Rat came to a store called Penguin Feather. I don't know if you remember Penguin Feather. I mean, was that
I don't know. I don't
back
remember
in
that
the
one.
'80s?
Okay.
It was like a head shop record store, basically where I bought the YNT record,
Okay, gotcha.
25 cents. Um, anyway, they were doing an in store, so me and my girlfriend went down and met them all. Steve Piercy, a jerk. Robin Crosby, an absolute jerk. The other three guys, super cool guys. We had a good time. They're like, "You coming to the show tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a ticket. I hope I get in. It's 18 and older." I was 16. They're like, "Oh, if there's anything we could do, we'll help." But that's all as far as it got. Anyway, we went down there. I did not get in. I had the last ticket for $1 and they wouldn't let me in without an ID, blah, blah, blah. So I sold my ticket for $40. And I marched down to the record store, which was called Orpheus Records. And I ended up buying I think I bought the first Trouble record that day, Witchfinder General, a lot of cool shit. And I didn't get to go to the concert, but this girl I knew who was friends with my girlfriend, she's like, "I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna get with Steve Piercy." So she ended up spending the night with Steve Piercy that night,
Oh,
and she was like a 10th grader.
wow, yeah.
So
I
one of
think I
those
remember
things.
Morpheus. I think I remember Morpheus Records. I remember that, and I remember Music Machine and Owings Mills. You remember that place?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep, that was a great place too.
These
Yeah.
were all Georgetown places. There was Olson's Books, Orpheus Records, and then there was Penguin Feather and Kip Mill. Kip Mill was down there on that side of right across Key
I
Bridge.
remember Kent Mill too. Yep, I
Yeah,
remember that. Yep.
but that's what I got
Yeah,
for rent.
I would go in there with lists upon lists in my pockets, like
Oh
just
yeah,
you know,
that's where
just
I got all
spend
my
hours in
earliest
there.
records down there.
Yeah,
Cider,
totally,
acid, things like that.
totally.
So Mark didn't know that you had kind of an
I
autobiographical.
missed that. I didn't know that. Yeah.
So I love the title. Stay Ugly, the near lives and near deaths of King Foley. It sounds like you had a couple misses with the morgue yourself there. How many near death experiences have you had?
A few. I had a blood clot that almost killed me in 2002. I was really bad.
Really?
It turns out I had a DVT, a blood clot behind my knee that went to my lung. Didn't realize that my mother had just actually passed away, so I really wasn't thinking about it. And I was a big jock boy then, playing a lot of 4 hours a day, full court basketball. So I thought I'd hurt my leg. It was killing me. I was like going to bed in tears with fever in my whole leg. And then some
Wow.
point it went to my lung, and we actually got asked to play the Milwaukee Metal Fest, both of my bands, October 31 and Deceased, that were literally an hour apart. And I was like, I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on. So I went to the doctor twice that week before the show. First, they said, "No wonder you can't breathe. You're hyperactive. You're an anxious guy. You're talking too fast. You're not getting your oxygen." I'm like, okay, that's the answer to this. Sent me home. Day before I was supposed to leave, my girlfriend told me, "You should go see my doctor." So they took me into there, and they said I had asthma, which I don't. And they gave me one of those Advair things. It didn't do shit. So I went and did the shows, and somehow I made it home. And that Monday, me and my girlfriend were supposed to go see Blondie and B-52s up. I think it was Meriwether Post. And I got up and I literally couldn't breathe. I was like, I just couldn't get any oxygen at all. I was starting to fade out. So we went to the hospital, and they're like, "Yeah, this man would have been dead within 48 hours. He wouldn't have lived
Oh my
anymore."
God.
So it had already passed what they call pulmonary embolism, which is a blockage. Mine was an infarct. Basically, I had a lung heart attack. Then in there, and
Wow.
they got me back. 2 years later, I woke up and I'd had a stroke. I had a stroke in my sleep. And they didn't know what caused it. Same doctor. He's like, "Had I known you had blood clot issues, I would never took you off the first one." So I made it through that. They found out later on in 2010 I have AFib, which can cause strokes and blood clots and stuff. So that was found out later. So that was two. When I was a young guy, a druggy guy, I almost overdosed on massive amounts of cocaine one night, and I barely pulled through that. That was another one. And then there was one where we were out doing a bunch of cocaine, and we were just speeding through the back roads of Great Falls, Virginia, and we pretty much wrecked this truck massively. Tree limbs coming at us into the glass and all this stuff. And they came out saying, "One of y'all's got to be dead. There's always somebody dead on this turn." We were all alive, luckily. So there's
Wow.
stuff like that, and just asinine stuff that comes with it. Buying drugs in DC from the Ghetto Boys and stuff like that, and making it out, guns pulled on us, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the story. And in the book, I want to let people know, you can make it through the rain. You really can make it through the rain.
Wow.
Well, I mean, your early stories are rock and roll stories, but your later stories you could just call medical negligence. It sounds like,
It's
like
true.
how many
Absolutely
times you got
true.
to go to the fucking doctor before they get it right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
they did not know, and he apologized. I'll never forget that when I came back with the stroke. The doctor was just like, "Had I known, man," he was in tears, and I was like, "Don't worry about it, man. It
wow.
is what it is." They brought in like John Hopkins. They were like doing all this, watching me and stuff. It was weird.
Wow. It's so bad how often they get it wrong. My mom was having all this pain and she went to the ER and they said, "Oh, your gallbladder's fine." And she was still having pain the next day and that day they were like, "Oh, your gallbladder's gangrene." I'm like, "Well, that's two very different things."
You're right. I mean, literally, you go to the emergency room. All they're really doing is taking your symptoms and Googling it. They're just hospital Googling.
Yeah.
That's all they've ever
Yeah.
done. I mean, after I had, this is true story. After I had my blood clot in my lung, I read the Merck manual, which is the base of the world of medicine. I read the entire book twice, which is 4,000 pages or something. And I thought about going into being a doctor. Even then, this is 2002. I was like, somebody's got to be the heavy metal doctor for all these fuck ups, blah blah blah. But I didn't. Here I am. I'm just doing my own thing.
That's
That's a
great.
great idea. You could have had like a little medical tent at
Yeah.
festivals and
See,
Yeah.
you're on it. You'd have been we would have got this all going. We'd all made a little bit of something.
All right. Well, let's bring it back to Deceased a little
yeah.
bit. So you always have a strong conceptual thread in your albums. Let's talk about Children of the Morgue fitting into that legacy. Does it like close a chapter or does it like open a new chapter?
I think it closes one. I like the way you put that. I think it
Okay.
closes one. For the longest time, obviously, all the way back to what I was just talking about, 2000, that same time, my mother passed away, like right before my leg got crazy. And that was on a whim. My mom was fine one weekend, and my mom died of what is necrotizing fasciitis, which is a horrible thing to die from. It's
Oh, yeah.
basically a flesh-eating disease.
Yeah.
Basically, she got a cut on her knee, and basically it just turned from normal, like should heal, to what they call a bad case of basically strep throat, kind of same kind of germs. It spread through her. They had to take her leg, 13 surgeries in a month, and
Oh
she
my
passed
God.
away. So from then on out, I've been riding that wave. My dad died when I was 5 of cancer. He died of cancer at 27. So it's been in our family all the way through. My son's mother, Carrie, the one I was talking about, she passed away young, got a tumor and passed away in 6 months' time. So it's always been there. And I've been talking about this lately a lot. That when it comes to death metal, we're not so much a tuned down guitar band and burgly burgity vocals. I want to write metal songs about death, like true stuff like that. And when we did Children of the Morgue, I actually had some people come to me and say, King, you might have did a little bit too much. You might have took it a little too far, because it's almost hard for me to listen to this record, because some of these lyrics are touching in with when I lost my mother, or or somebody's like, or a friend of mine, or somebody's child, or
Yeah.
anything. I mean, when I was getting influenced for that record, outside of the stuff that's happened to me personally, I was watching documentaries, frontline documentaries on children dying of cancer at 4 years old and stuff. That's not fun. But I wanted to do the research, and I wanted to take myself to the darkest place I could
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So I did do all that, and it definitely it just sort of happened. We had lost Dave, our drummer. He died in 18. I lost my stepfather while we were actually getting ready to record Children of the Morgue. So it was all just hitting and hitting, and it's going to hit more. The older we get, we're going to lose our loved ones, people we grew up with on TV, blah blah blah. And it's not just, and not that anybody's life doesn't matter, but it's not just secondary kind of people. It's it's the heavy hitters. It's your best friends, and
Yeah.
you start to learn people like did not take care of themselves, or still were fucking up with drugs and all that kind of crap. So it is in that way what it was, and it all came to a head with this. So I was telling them when we started writing these songs for this 40th anniversary CD thing that we're putting out, I said, I still want to go, very morbid and dark subjects, but I do not want to go. I'm done with that for now.
Yeah.
It just was heavy hitting, man. It's sat on me so.
Well, I think you took it as far as you could go. It sounds.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, I felt like I had the albatross around my neck,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like the fact you went with children. It's kind of like that scene in The Walking Dead with the little zombie girl with the pulling the teddy bear. It just kind of takes it to that next level creepy,
Right.
That
Well, my thought was that with Children of the Morgue, I used basically children as all of us are the Earth's children. So no matter what age we are, we're all older now, and of course we can stay up as late as we want now, not have to go to bed. We have to get up for school, but we're all still children of the morgue, because basically we're born to die. And and my whole thought process was, why are we here? Why do we love? Why do we get people in our lives that are going to go away or we're going to go away? It's just so pretty intense thinking for me on that, you know, like children of the Morgue. And I just tell that. And like this first song on the album, the title track, that one's, it's kind of like an anthem in a way. It's almost like a fuck you to the earth, because in my story, we have fed to Mother Earth. Mother Earth's a bitch. She's not, nature is not our friend. She just wants to, you know, I guess the harshest way to say it is shit you out and push you on.
No,
so
you're right.
It's pretty crazy.
We have a lot of older patients, and I had one today. You know, she's 90-some years old. I'm making her appointment for next year, and they always have to add that if I'm still here. And I'm always like, of course you will be.
Right.
Don't be silly.
No, you're right. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Every day, you know, like I tell a lot of my friends, I'm 56, a lot of us are the same age. I'm like, we're late in the third quarter of life, man. we got a whole quarter to go, man. So play your best ball.
We're out of timeouts. I mean, we're out of time. Yeah, exactly. Good.
You know, so you get it. You gotta have fun with it, because you just gotta.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you. So, Oblivion Studios. It seems to be it like kind of keeps drawing you in. You did Fearless Undead Machines, Supernatural Addiction. Is it the atmosphere? What is it about that studio?
We love Mike Bosher, the man that runs the place, as an engineer, as a friend. It works for our localities. I mean, we're all kind of not really right there, but we're all as kind of a good meeting center point. We've had nothing but good times there with recording, and I just actually came from there over the weekend. I was just there, and it's just still. I mean, he's gotten so good at his stuff. It's so laid back. There's not one bit of burden to it. Everything you need to do, he goes at your speed. He understands you. You're not in the studio with somebody who's just kind of like you're the next guy up on the stuff. We've done stuff with him since Fearless demos in '97. So almost 30 years. You know what I'm saying? And he's just gotten so good at everything. Like, I love what we just recorded there. Came out great. And we were on a quick budget. We were like, let's get in, get out. It wasn't like Children where we had weeks and weeks and weeks. This was get in, get out. And we accomplished what we needed to do. And he also knows the music. He's a metalhead too. He does his own stuff. And you can say, you know, I'm looking for Venom or something like this idea here. And he knows what you're saying. You talk to some people, what the hell is that? You know? They got to go to the book, you know, the textbook on all that.
Right. No, that's good though, because even though it's the same studio, it sounds fresh. It's not like those last few Motorhead albums where he was kind of going through the motions with every record and it sounded the same.
And we always want, even though we go to the same thing and use a lot of the same gear, we always try to get every album have its own personality. We try little things different here and there, just to keep it, in our opinion, just to keep moving forward.
Yeah, totally. It comes through. Yeah.
For the track Terranaut, was that a nod to that 1967 British weird sci-fi film, or is that just a happy coincidence?
It's a word that came from that film. It's been in my head for years. I'm a big Amicus. That's Amicus Studios, who's my favorite horror studio. That's a sci-fi one. It's just a word that played good with me. Kind of like when we did the song "A Witness to Suspiria" on our Weird Travel On record. Suspiria is obviously an Dario Argento movie, but I use Suspiria as just a weird place to be. On this one, Terranaut was kind of the word for death. It was kind of like, that's kind of what set me up for that. I just thought it was a neat word, you know, kind of that. And it also played a little bit like on Sabbath, Supernaut, and things like that. It just seemed to go there. But I'm glad you caught the reference. That's cool.
Yeah, it seems like a kind of like word like clusterfuck. It's just this perfect description.
Exactly. It was fitting. Exactly. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Also, the Reaper is nesting is such an evocative title. But then I got to thinking, what is the Reaper giving birth to if he's nesting?
Well, the Reaper is just kind of sitting there. He's all in the story. He's just always waiting, and then you're next. And it was just a time that basically it was getting in the nest, and the nest was just the person that was going to die. So they just get inside you. The Reaper is always inside us all. I mean, right now we're talking. Death is in us three as we talk right now. It's nesting. When it wants to spread its wings and fly, we don't know. So that's kind of where I was going with it.
Oh, I like that.
I tell you what, the meaning of life ruined the Reaper for me. All I ever think of is he's here for the reaping or something. I told him I don't think we need any. You know, that whole scene is just when he's like the salmon moose, and then they're halfway to heaven, and she goes, "Wait a minute, I didn't eat the moose." I mean, just hysterical.
Well, you got a good play out of it. Good for you. Let's hope you get that play out of it for a long time.
Yeah, the best Reaper reference ever. Yeah.
I agree.
So the cover for the last album, okay, it's got this kind of like I don't know what it is. It's morbid, but it's like cartoonish at the same time. Like, how did you choose that? Like, how did you choose the art? That's
Well,
so hard to do
the
that.
artist Desmond is a dear friend. He's wanted to do art for 25 years for me.
Yeah.
We met, if I remember correctly, we met at one of those horror conventions, and he was selling like scorpions in trance shirts or something. I bought one, and we started talking.
Of
Of
course.
course.
Yeah.
And then he just did all this artwork. And then he goes, we did the last one. He said, dude, I'm loving your stuff. Is it my turn yet? I said, is it your turn for what? He said, to do an album cover. I said, let's
That's
talk about it.
great.
So we pulled it aside. And I told him, I said, I didn't just want, I mean, some people have said it's in poor taste, like you having dead children. I was like, if you can't get that it's a painting and it's an art, and it's kind of like an awkward version of it. We're not sitting there with, we didn't go and look at the 1920s for those, when they used to prop kids up dead and take pictures of dead children. That's something that they did a lot in the early 1900s. We weren't going for that. Obviously, I wouldn't use that anyway. But I wanted to have something that was eerie and creepy, but still kind of had a comic book kind of
Exactly.
vibe to it in a way. I don't know how to really explain it, but when he came back for what he came back, it was perfect because I still think they're very morbid, things that he was drawing and all that. But at the same time, I think it has a kind of unique. I don't know what you would call that. I mean, it's not
Dark
cartoony. It's
humor.
not cartoonish. It's just neat. I thought it was very original in his approach. The faces kind of were different than what I usually see. You see a lot of records, death metal. You're always going to see a skull or just a dead something or other. And I wanted a horde of dead children. You know what I'm saying? And I did keep it like that. Like I said a minute ago, we're all children, even us adults. We're our parents' children always, but we're the world's children too. And I just kind of wanted to take that like that innocent. I want to have that innocence taken away from those children. Like the pink dress and the baby doll like kids and blah 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 blah.
You're not going to get AI to draw that. That's not going to happen.
No.
I have 74 flags on this request. Yeah. Anyway,
He gets our AI in trouble all the time. He wanted it to draw this. We were doing this bit on like this amusement park, and it was supposed to be kind of like this silly, like it was a tractor amusement park. And when he drew the one picture, this one kid is like getting flung from the machine. And after that, he's like, I can't draw anymore.
yeah. My chat GBT is like totally bastardized. Like he drops F-bombs. I've completely screwed him up. And we're constantly like standing in the corner, getting flagged. It's just,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that AI comes up with some neat ideas, but most of the time it's as bad as Alito's pretzel, man.
Because there's so many like they're so afraid they could offend somebody, And
and I wanted people to have some thoughts. I had a person when that interviewed us for the album said to me, "Why would you put dead children on your cover of your record?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "Look, dude,
of course.
I'm like, look, heavy metal needs a shot in the arm right now more than ever because right now Tipper Gore likes heavy metal. She thinks it's neat and it's not nothing anymore shocking, nothing's offensive anymore. I'm writing some deep shit, I'm writing some heavy stuff here, and I'm in this heavy metal. This is the underground. We do what we do. I'm not out to I'm out to do what's important for the art of this record, and we did it. But they were kind of like one or two people said, like, in my world, I wouldn't have done that. Well, this ain't your world, dude. This is Deceased world. So
Yeah, exactly.
Like you had actual piles of dead babies. For good.
Well, that would have been okay. I would have been alright.
I like him.
So I love that you had some epic tracks on here in 7 to 8 minute range. Is it more challenging to write a longer song, or is it easier because you have more room?
It's kind of both. Going back to the Ghostly White one just for a minute, just because the one before this, which we had a 14-minute song, which was the longest song we've ever done. My challenge as the arranger of the song is to make sure it doesn't become repetition. You don't just keep running it and running it and running it just to make it longer with the same riffs. It has to have the depth and the emotions needed to run it. Like on the new record, like Fed to Mother Earth and things like that, they needed to be longer songs because there was different vibes to the tune. You couldn't just get in and out with one thing. And I think for the most part, on most every time we've ever done these songs, the records are getting longer and the songs are getting longer. I do feel like they're coming together better now than they used to. So I would say, like you're saying, it's just more room to work, and that's necessary in a lot of the stuff. I don't like to tell a song and not get all the lyrics in what I need to do, and that's something I've been working with because sometimes I think I overkill some of the songs with lyrics just to make sure the story gets across, and it kind of goes against the song at times, in my opinion. So I've been trying to work on that. But yeah, I mean, we love doing that. I mean, me and Mike Smith, the guitar player, we pretty much work together. We've thought about doing an album, just one song, 50-minute album.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
thought about that, just having it just one crazy long song, just to be, just something in our mind we might do one day,
You guys have always had kind of longer songs. I like that about you. I've always liked that, like 6, 7 minute range, lots of solos, and
Right.
lots of good lyrics. Yeah, I like that.
Well,
Another band that you guys always reminded me of was Sabbath from Japan. They used to do that too. They would have,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
like
with these two new tunes we just wrote for this double CD, we actually went back, and one's 4:24 and one's like 3.5 minutes. We just went back to some what we call rippers, just some quick, in and out, because we still love the speed thrash stuff on its
of
own
course,
too.
yeah.
But we kind of leave them away from the record because you can just kind of do your own one-offs, so to speak, with
Yeah,
those.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, you did at the show, you did a cover of you did I Spit on Your Grave, Whiplash.
Yeah.
I lost my mind. I went insane.
That was a very fun show in Baltimore. That
I
was. I was worried about that place because the last time I played there was with October 31. And I swear one of the guys in the band farted when we were playing. You could hear it. I was like, did I just hear you fart over the amps in here? And now it was louder now. Because I said to the guy, I said, this is a place I remember. It's just so low on the stage. Literally,
You
I
never
thought I
forget something like
farted.
that, right?
But I had a great time. That was a nice show, man. It was fun. That whole
Yeah,
tour
we
was
like that place. We
that
like that
whole
place.
tour was successful as hell, man. We did 16 shows at the corner. I think 11 of them were sold out, completely sold out.
Wow,
That being one of them. That one ended
that's
up being
great.
sold out. And we were up in Canada, man, playing like 400 people a night, like packed houses. It was really cool. It really
Yeah.
was. We had a great time with them. Super nice guys.
And Coroner brought it. They played Cimmerian Codex, they played Mass Jackal. They know what we want to hear. It's great.
Yeah, I mean they were very professional from day one all the way through. No
Yeah.
issues.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see you back with Under Gang for sure. God, that would be a great show too. Whew, kicked our butts for sure.
Right on.
So for the intro track, Destination Work, was that written before to kind of set the mood, or written after, kind of to wrap everything up?
The album was actually written in complete order this time again. We wrote every song as you heard it on the record. And I kept telling Mike there was going to be some segues and some interludes and some things, just kind of setting some tones before songs, kind of like being able to take the dynamics of the song before and kind of move the chart a little bit, because obviously I wasn't going second to second on those songs. We had to move time along just because of the length of the record, things like that. But we wanted to come in with something really heavy. That's the first time we've ever had like really an we've had like an intro tape on Fearless. We had a talking. We never had an instrumental kind of kick the album off. So that was just again one of those maybe we'll do it one day things that we did do.
Turned out great.
Yeah.
So after nearly 40 years, what do you think has changed the most about the underground scene, and what has stayed the same?
Well, posers are still posers. You can still tell who's in it for the long haul, who's in it for the moment. The internet has changed a lot of it. Now people are very knowledge and stuff that we used to take a long time to do. Like we'd have to all like back in the day, for me, I'd order a lot of mail order records from California, have to sit and wait COD for 8 days to get my Hellhammer record and things like now. Now it's like, you guys could be premiering something tonight and we click it right now and nobody has it but you. And here we are, we're on it like that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing in some ways. And in some ways it takes that it takes a lot to be strong and dedicated and passionate about it away. You don't even get to go down that, we used to walk to the mall, like, in the snow to buy records.
Oh,
We got
yeah.
to have At War with Satan today.
I'm right there with you.
My friend used to come to my house for lunch and we'd smoke. They go on school break, want to come by and smoke a joint with me. And I'd be like, let me borrow your moped. I'm going to shoot down to Georgetown to the bike trail real quick. And I'd come
Yeah.
back with Exciter, Heavy Metal Maniac in this hand and first acid in this one. Just in
Yeah,
all,
yeah.
like, I'll be right back. And I'd be going past when he needed to be back to school and he'd bitch at me. I'd be like, but look what I got, dude. I got these records because I can't get down there otherwise unless I freaking walk. And that was like 10, 12 miles each way, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
know
that's
what you
just
mean.
that's a different thing. Just the speeding this up. A lot of, as you just said, keyboard warriors, those kind of people talking a bunch of smack. You see them in person; they're nothing like their online appearances and things like
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
that's just, to me, is goofy to begin with. It's like, be yourself, dude. Don't hide behind names and this and that.
Yeah.
Like things what you guys are doing right here. This is informative. This is knowledgeable. This is great. This is always opening up the mind and bettering just all of our knowledge together. So this
Yeah.
is great.
I picture people like writing down like all the obscure 80s bands we're going to talk about. You know what I mean? Like they're
I
like,
mean, I would
wait a
think
minute,
so. I
who
would
is
have
this Kate? Who is this Kate and DePena from Hyrax? Who is
done.
this person? I'm trying to think.
Well, when I was
Actually, I got the Phantasm demo. I think I went to go see Anthrax on the Among the Living tour, and Caton was just like handing them out outside. Like it
right,
was Anthrax and Metal Church at Hammerjacks. Yeah.
wow. Well,
And
there you go.
I still have it. He was just like, I didn't know who the hell he was, and he didn't have
Sure.
his cool black and white leather. You know, what I'm talking about
He didn't have the
like,
best on.
he's the only one that has that, right?
Yeah, that's his thing. But I
It's
mean,
so badass.
for
Yeah.
me growing up, it was DC 101 when I was a kid. Like they had this thing called Monday Night Metal at midnight every Monday. They'd play a metal record all the way through. And this is how I discovered Man of War, The Rods, Anvil, Too
Yeah.
Fast for Love, Motley Crue, Under the Blade, Twisted Sister. I mean, I could sit here for an hour. YNT. That's how I originally got
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
81, 80, 82. I mean, every week they pull out weird stuff, even to like think about it now that DC 101 actually played. And I'm not saying one song, I'm saying the full records from 12 to 1. You would
Yeah.
record them. Tank, bands like Tank, and
Yeah.
then they'd play some stuff by the bands that were popular then, like their latest Rose Tattoo or Nazareth or things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I scored so much stuff that way, which is, I guess, the closest I get to Googling something or YouTube now.
Yeah. See, luckily you were a little further south than me. I was Baltimore City, so I had tinfoil and standing on the roof trying to get DC 101. It was like, come on, the
That's how
signal.
I was for 98 Rock.
Well, I'll tell you what, 98 Rock had Metal Shop,
Yeah.
and I loved Metal Shop, and that was what Dee Snider's brother. He did that, right? What did
Okay.
the
I don't know. I couldn't tell yes or no on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Sounds right.
that was I taped every show, and that's how I discovered bands like Armored Saint and Europe and Q5, and yeah, it was the best.
Yeah,
I
that's
loved it.
how we could do it. It's at our magazines, Hit Parader or Circus
Yeah, and the
Scream.
the interview with Blackie Lawless where he talked about like where he had actual saw blades and he was cutting himself to the bone on stage every night and shit
Right.
like that. I mean, that was I stayed up till midnight for that. Like, I didn't go out for that, so yeah.
Do you remember the show Rockline? That was another one they do it like
I
late.
remember it, but I don't think I could get
They
it
would
or
have
it was a
interviews with bands, and one of my best moments, and I still have the cassette upstairs in my attic, is they had Def Leppard on there. The Pyromania hadn't taken off. It was about 2 months from becoming
Yeah, yeah.
huge, and they were like playing them a song by them, and at the end it goes, yeah, and by the way, we'll be coming to, I believe, Largo, Maryland, Capitol Center with special guest Crocus. And I was like, I'll be there, man. I was so excited, Crocus. So
Yeah, yeah, I would bribe my cousin to drop me off at Largo because we lived in Baltimore, and he would just have to like kind of hang around for 3 hours and then take me back home so I could see, whoever, Maiden or
Well,
Metallica or whoever.
right
Yeah.
before we just half an hour ago when I was on Facebook, I was just telling stories about how the Rainbow played there in '82 with the Rods in Crocus, and I missed it. I couldn't get a ride, so I was standing in a construction site in Arlington, Virginia, where I lived, just crying like a little bitch. I was so upset. And then we saw AC/DC flick of the switch. We had to walk home from the Capitol Center, which was about 35, 40 miles from
Oh
us. We
wow.
did it.
Wow.
We did it. I
Wow.
mean, we always tried to get a ride. We went to see Bark at the Moon Ozzy with Motley Crue. I had second row, best seats I ever had for the place. I showed up. Ozzy was on his encore. We missed the entire show. I walked in. I said, "Man, we're going to miss Wasted. We're going to probably miss some of Motley Crue." We missed all of it. They were literally on the encore. They were doing like Children of the Grave by then. We had like 10 minutes. I
Oh
remember Jakey Lee took a
man.
little bit of a flash pod to his hair and had to put it out real quick. I got 10
All
minutes.
right, I got a good one for you. You're probably gonna remember this, and not many people will. To get tickets to go see like Maiden or Motley or whatever, I would go to Hex.
Yep.
That's
And
us.
I would sit
In the
in the
night.
fucking. I would sit in the fucking Hex in the like the menswear department, all the heads, all the long hairs, waiting for that window to open, and then I'd just pay cash. Like, and you could tell like the people that ran the Hex, they were not happy that we were there.
Oh, we'd spend the night. We get like 30, 40 people, and we did it. We did it for Ozzy. We did it for Sabbath, Born Again. We did it at least five, 6 times. We actually did it the morning that the plane hit the down. Remember was that plane got hit on 14th Street Bridge? Remember that? All that
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
That was
Oh,
a
God,
big snowstorm. We spent the night for Ozzy tickets that morning, and we went home and fell asleep after we got our tickets, which were second row. And I got up. And my friend's calling me, and he's like, "Dude, did you hear the plane crashed?" And he had just bought a VHS camera. We walked all the way to Roslyn, and we filmed them like trying to, rescue those people.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I got stories. We definitely
That's
did the
a hell of a
Hex thing, man.
story.
The last time we ever did Hex was Black Sabbath, Headless Cross for Meriwether Post. We went there to go. We went and sat down at Tyson's Corner Mall, and we saw like a line of about 100 people. I was like, my God, Sabbath is this popular still? No way. So we go up there and we're like, are you all in line for Sabbath? They're like, no, we're in line for New Order, the band, right? And I was like, I'm gonna think quick. So I was like, oh, well, we're in line for Sabbath, and we've been here since 2:00. Here's the list. All you guys go after us. So everybody started putting it down. I figured, what the hell, and I got away with it.
You were the only one there for Headless Cross.
We went there. There was less than 500 paid for Headless Cross at Meriwether Post. The tour was canceled 2 days later. It was them, Silent Rage, and Kingdom Come.
God, Tony Martin.
Literally 500 people. They pulled the
Tony Martin got the worst end of the. Tony Martin really got the worst end of the deal, don't you think? I mean, he really got screwed.
Hell of a singer, but
those albums are great though. Yeah,
glad you know that era, and I'm glad I'm glad you knew the Hex things. I was right there with you.
I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I back in the day, I thought it was all cool when I was in college. I got an internship with 98 Rock, and I thought it was going to be so cool. No, they had me recording the questions at the Rotunda for Street Talk. Like, you had to get responses. That's what I did there. I was like,
that's not fun. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
I
remember being like 13, 14 years old, and I heard Seventh Star, and I thought, is Glenn Hughes going to sing Paranoid? Like, even then, I thought, something's wrong with this. It just doesn't.
Did you go to that concert? Because I went to that one too.
Yeah, I would have loved to. No, I was too young, but I couldn't imagine Glenn Hughes singing the Ozzy stuff.
Well, we showed up. It was them and Wasp, and it was supposed to be Anthrax too, but Anthrax got off the tour. And when we showed up, it wasn't even Glenn Hughes; it was Ray Gillen. Glenn Hughes had already been left the band. He'd already started. They just somebody punched him in the face, and he was messed up because he was a cokehead. And he that's the only tour he ever did where he sang without bass in his hands. And he literally came out. He was heavy. He had a beard, and I guess he ran his mouth. He was during his drug stuff. He's obviously cleaned his act up, and he still has a beautiful voice. But it was the weirdest Sabbath I ever saw that night. Ever. They had some kind of like wheel on stage that was like running water off of it. Like, it looked like they were like in a mill or something. And I just was like, we didn't know who Ray Gillen was. We're like, this is not. It's not Glenn Hughes. And it was Dave Spitz on bass from Dan Spitz's brother from Anthrax.
Wow.
Eric Singer
really
on
weird.
drums.
Yeah, really weird. And then I remember like hearing that like Sharon was still so bitter at that point that she would find out what town they were going to be in, and she would make sure Ozzy was there in that town to draw all the fans so that they would have no turnout.
She was always trying to do that, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. From the Live Evil, Speak of the Devil, Mockery to all that. Sure. I love the 7 Star album, but the tour was a mess. That was a mess.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Baltimore Civic Center.
Yeah.
So I love the killer new track you sent us, and I love the idea of the March of the Cadavers coming and material from your whole history. Was it hard to pick what you wanted to include with that?
Some records it was, some records it wasn't. If I'm turning right, because I can see all my albums right here in front of me. I have a thing on the wall. What we wanted to do was take 2 songs from everything we ever did, and we wanted to do six tunes recorded. March of the Cadavers was an instrumental. It was the first thing I ever wrote. It's an instrumental. I wrote it on bass. So I actually played bass on some of that on the recording we just did. And then Sick Thrashes from the demo too. We wanted to redo a couple old ones with some snazzier, better sound. We did 2 covers. We actually did our first Black Sabbath cover ever, which is Die Young. We covered that, and we did Venom, Lady Lust. And then the 2 new ones, which is Dusted, the one I sent you guys. That's basically the story of a guy on PCP who kills his family. That's what that's about. So that was a slang growing up. You were dusted, meant you were high on PCP. So that's what that has to mean. And the other one's called Cure for the Grieving Widow. And that's a 3.5-minute one. That's kind of like Bonded by Blood meets Endless Pain, Creator to me, sort of. Just real fast, simple. Again, both these songs Dusted has a lot more going on than the other one does. So I gave you that one. Really proud of it. Really like it. Think it's pretty intense. We have no direction for a new record or anything. We just wanted to write 2 songs like that. So we just kind of did it I won't say on the fly. We took our time, but they came out nice. I really do. I like that tune.
Yeah, really, really heavy and good.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I love the artwork on that too.
Yeah, we're that's the layout for this. It's pretty EC Comics, Volta Horror, Tales from the Crypt, the old 60s, 50 kind of like not too intense, but just fun in a morbid way.
So if you had like unlimited time in the studio, what do you think is like a bucket list cover that you'd like to deceasify?
There's a few. I'm going to run a couple by you real quick. I still want to do a song called Legend of Woolly Swamp by Charlie Daniels, which is it's a ghost song. It's a ghost story. I still want to cover DOA from Blood Rock. I still want to do a cover of that. And we also, oddly enough, when we did Blueprints for Madness, we were supposed to cover a song by Sonic Youth of all bands, Death Valley 69, which they're early noisy stuff. I remember being a kid and I'd always come home Friday nights or whatever, the weekend, stoned. It'd be 2 a.m. and they'd have the show on USA called Night Flight. And
I remember that.
These crazy videos. I remember one night I had no idea what it was, but I noticed, I was like, there's somebody in this band is wearing a Venom shirt. So I sat back and I watched it, and the video was pretty bloody and stuff. But I just thought the song was very morbid in its own way. Most of their stuff's not really like that. I like a little bit of their stuff, not a lot. But that's another one I'd like to do. And we've always talked of just doing these fun records. Like that's how we got to Thrash Times at Ridgemont High and all that was on the phone. We've sat there and we was like, oh, maybe we'd do an album of just cool hard rock songs. Like maybe we'd do like some Double Vision from Foreigner or something. I call it radio metal, like Jane, Jefferson Starship. That's heavy. Like people would say Barracuda or Cat Scratch Fever. Like those are songs when you're a kid. They're like the riff, Hold the Line, Toto. It's pretty heavy, really. I know Brian Johnson. I just saw he covered it, and I was kind of weird with that. But
I saw that too. I saw that.
Or even some eerie new wave stuff, like something from maybe the Fix or something like that. I like a lot of that, like early '80s, like Lunatic Fringe, Red Rider kind of stuff. It's spooky, and definitely something.
Speaking of covers,
definitely something.
Last time we talked, I didn't cover the Rotten to the Core albums, okay? And on the renowned malt soda label, I might add,
Yes.
And I thought it was so well done the way you focused, like the first volume, you did the primary colors like Bad Brains, Dead Kennedys, Suicidal. And then by volume 2, it's like, The Nightmare Continues, which is a great Overkill shout out. You're hitting Cryptic Slaughter, Impulse Manslaughter, The Accused. I mean, I love the way you did it. So how did you? Yeah.
No, I mean, basically, we wanted to go on. He's like, we need to know Rotten to the Core. Scooter's a great guy. He's a punk rocker. He only really fell in love with Deceased because he's like, I'm not really a metalhead, but you guys are kind of like this punk vibe entity. He's like, you do it the right way. You're not rock stars like a lot of metal dudes he's met. So he liked us. And he was just like, in 15, 20 years, I want to do volume 2. So 15, 20 years happened to roll around when COVID was going on. So just like Thrash Times, I'm like, if you want to do it now, we're not really getting together that often. We can put this together and just go record it, something to do until we can all play live again. And just go into place like that. And some of those bands like The Accused and Cryptic Slaughter should have been on volume 1 because they were like volume 1-ish, but I was out of room, so then there was some that like were fine being second, things like that. So it sort of worked itself out,
Yeah, I saw Cryptic Slaughter at my local youth center in Baltimore with Hallows Eve in like 85 or something. Yeah. And it was like there were people playing pool that were like,
it's weird you say that. I saw Hallows Eve in Baltimore in 85, but I saw them with a band called Violent Speed Death. You remember them?
Oh yeah, I remember them, yeah.
BSD. And there was another band, was it Underground Death Cult, UDC?
I don't remember them.
Rancid Decay?
Rancid Decay, I remember. Yeah,
okay.
Totally.
And we went up and saw Hallows Eve at it was a church we saw them at.
And I talked to Tommy Stewart not that long ago, and because we did a thing on the show about the box set, and I wanted to know what happened to Stacey Anderson, like what happened, and he said he just got in a car and left one day. Like they were like building, and it was like because Monument was pretty good and they were doing well and they had a good tour. and Stacy just got in the car and left, didn't say anything to anybody. And that was
Yeah,
it.
and it was weird because I remember following some of those later Metal Massacres from Metal Blade, and it was one of them, and I heard a band, it was kind of like a rap metal thing, and I just always checked the booklets. It was Stacey Anderson singing rap metal. He's on there. He was like, "I got a bottle of whiskey." It was totally not.
You jumped on that bandwagon then.
Because
Okay.
I'm a big Tales of Terror guy. I like Death and
Mm.
Insanity. Monument's okay, but the first two, especially the first one, is just classic. I've seen them a couple times. We saw them play also at Seagull Inn up there. And
I love the Seagull Inn. I
Seagull
loved
Inn,
it.
we were up there. We saw that. We went up there. We saw that. We saw Exodus up there. We saw Agent Steel up there. Whole bunch of bands back in the day. I'm sure you
We
did.
were probably at some of the same shows, Ken.
Yeah, Metal
We
Church.
probably
we saw
were.
up there.
What was the place? AL Gators.
Yep,
Remember
we were
that
there
place?
too.
I saw Trouble and Sabotage, and they were opening. They were doing the Trouble, the Def Jam, the
Sure.
self-titled Trouble, and there were like for Trouble there were like 10 people in the room, and I was like, really, really. And then Sabotage came on, and they had more of an audience, but I don't know. Like Chris Oliver made some shitty comments about a girl that got hurt in the pit, and we were like, fuck this band, and we left. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Trouble
I know he's
destroyed
passed
them.
on,
I
but
mean,
he was known to get a little drunk and a little mouthy.
yeah.
I went up there, one of the shows I remember most of AL Gators was I went up there and saw Annihilator and Reverend one time. And I
Okay,
was
yeah.
talking to Jeff Waters before the show, and I swear I watched this man drink about almost a case of beer before he played. And he went on stage and he was flawless.
Of
And I was like,
course, because he's Jeff Waters.
He was flawless, man.
Yeah.
That was fun. I got on stage and was singing Craft Dinner with them, that song Craft Dinner.
Oh.
They were like, "Come on up, King." And by then, you know me. I gotta get my presents now. And I gotta know
Did you like Alice in Hell when it came out? Because we thought the demo was so much better than Alice in Hell. We were like,
Phantasmagoria demo is better. My favorite record by them is Never Neverland. I like the second one. I like Coburn Farr as a singer better than I liked.
Yeah. Okay, the guy that was a wrestler or whatever, right?
Randy Rampage.
Yeah, Randy Rampage.
What a name! But I still liked. I think on that tour, if I remember right, wasn't it them and Megadeth and Warlock played somewhere like I think they played like Towson they played Maryland. They played the Richmond Coliseum.
That's right. Yeah,
that's what they did back then. Maybe Sanctuary. Somebody played.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always loved your kind of commanding stage presence. Even if you're not singing, you're like finding a way like a maestro to whip up the crowd. Do you know where you kind of came with that, or is it just kind of come naturally?
I've always said when I go to concerts, if you want to hear the music, you stay home and listen to it. Because all a concert usually is we'll use Rush as the example. Rush is a great band. I find them terribly boring live. People think I'm nuts. But all Rush is to me live is the record with worse vocals. That's all it is to me. They play it perfect. Don't get me wrong, but I need to be entertained visually as well as audio. I want the sound to be tight. I want the band to be spot on. But I need people to go nuts, and that must be coming from my Kiss and all that, or my early days of seeing Twisted Sister in bars where Dee Snider's working the crowd. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Dee in general these days. I think it's a little bit goofy, but I can never deny the guy as being probably the best bar frontman that has ever been. So for me, it's like there is no time off. I have a lot of hyperness, even at 56. I can't sit fucking still. That's the truth.
Yeah, I saw him open for Maiden on the Power Slave tour. That was classic Twisted Sister because they hadn't imploded yet, and they were like at the height of their powers. It was great.
They were just about to lose it and go real.
Just about to lose it. All those years of building, and then to lose it so quickly. What
That's
a shame.
true. I agree with you because they were the best bar band that ever was, man.
Yeah. Just almost like they should have just stayed in the bars. And you know what? I'm sure you've seen that documentary where JJ French talks about they were making money in the bars. Like, fuck the record deal. My God, piles of cash.
I mean, there was really no overhead. It's just show up and play.
Well, and also the 18-year-old, when it was 18, you could buy alcohol at 18. That was the key because, you didn't have to be 21. So I mean, that documentary is one of the best rock and roll documentaries I've ever seen. It's amazing. Like,
we saw him. How I met Mark from Deceased we went to see it was literally Twisted Sister with special guest Queensryche. Queensryche's 19th show ever. Jeff Tate had the hair to his knees. And they were out there, and the record was coming. The Warning was coming out, but it was called Roads to Madness then. And they were up there with all the the chain drums and purple smoke, and then they play, and I was like, my God, this is like the American Iron Maiden. And then I was
Yeah.
like, let's see what Twisted Sister's going to do for me. And they came out and just blew my fucking head off, man.
Yeah,
It was so good. He stopped the show. There was a local band called Teacher's Pet, and it was kind of poser band, and he was pointing this guy out to the point where the guy just got up and left. He was like, no, you're a fucking poser. He wouldn't leave him alone. He's like, you're pointed out. Everybody here knows it. Get the fuck out, you know.
Well, he talks about that tour in his book D. Snyder, and he says Queensryche, this young band that they had barely had one album out, they had the nice tour bus, all the support, like you said, the show.
Yeah.
The record company for Twisted Sister was like, "Fuck you, get out. You're on your own. Just You got duct tape, get it done." Yeah.
And I remember when Twisted Sister came back in Rothschild, America. They were still called Rothschild in Oakland.
Yeah.
And they were just premiering. They were like, here's a new song. And it was, We're Not Going to Take It. And I remember them in sound check. I was like, damn, this song's got a lot of cowbell in it. We were outside waiting to get in, and we got in. I mean, I used to love doing that, standing in line to see bands. I remember seeing Maiden X Factor at Hammerjacks. I don't know if you went to that, but when metal was low, we were standing outside, and they were doing Wheels of Steel from Saxon during sound check. Maiden. I was like, man, this is so cool. So things like that are always cool. I mean, the memories I have of all that, because we weren't old enough.
Well, luckily I had a friend like you back then who said, because I was all bummed out about, I was like, Priest is playing Hammerjacks, Maiden's playing these small places. He was like, now is when you get your record signed, get them signed because you can. And so luckily I did, but like I just remember being like, oh, well, I guess I never thought about it that way, So.
I mean, Maiden didn't jump. I mean, Maiden stayed Maiden through it all. They just went to smaller places to play heavy metal. They didn't change their look and all that to fit in and stay higher up.
However, I would much rather hear a King Fowley 10-minute song than a Steve Harris 10-minute song at this point.
Maiden's still my favorite band of all time, and I still love everything they do. But I can see where you're coming from. Some of the choruses can go on about 4 minutes too long, and some of those long bass things.
And the production. I mean, do we have to do it so Steve can golf? I mean, do we have to? Does it have to be in Steve's backyard? Why can't we get like I would love if they would get like an Andy Sneap or somebody to just kick their ass, like, I'd love that.
Here's me with Andy Sneap. I mean, it's good for Priest, but it is kind of formulated too. To me, it's very processed sounding. I'm truthfully with me, I have not liked Judas Priest since Defenders of the Faith came out.
Yeah.
It might seem weird.
Well, you're such a purist, though. I mean,
I just like Screaming for Vengeance back. People always like, oh, you're just jumping off. And I was just like, when that album came out, I thought it was like spring break heavy metal. I was like,
what I like about Sneap is he's like, no. You're not going to make a song. You're not going to do a song with JD from Korn. No, you're not going to do that. This is what people want to hear. We're going to go back and we're going to listen to Sad Wings of Destiny, and we're going to. That's what I like. I mean, again, like you said, it's a little formulaic, but still,
No, I mean, it's more the guitar tone for me with him, but no, I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't think Steve Harris should be co-producing anything at this point, even though it's his band and all that. Martin Birch, when he was very important to it, just like George Martin with the Beatles. So I would agree on that, I think.
Well, just like Derek Riggs with the artwork. I mean, like as soon as they didn't have Derek Riggs, I was like, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. It's always, something deeper than we'll ever know with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to see Maiden still doing it. I'm looking forward to seeing what this tour they're about to do, where it's just the early stuff they're just going to do.
The 50 year,
yeah, and I'm ready for that. I mean, I've seen them 37 times, man. I'm waiting for 38.
I don't know how many times I've seen them, but probably
my most I've seen any band is Voivod. I'm at 55 with Voivod, and Maiden's 37.
That's awesome.
And I think Kiss was like 19. That was probably my 3 most.
Okay, so we did. I think we did it last time. Our game, Blaspheming Monikers, where I have 5 band names in front of me, and you have to guess which one is made up. And I spent extra time on this for you, King. So I hope you're ready to bring it. Okay.
I'll try.
Okay.
Nowadays,
Here we go.
I don't know.
Okay. Skullfuckers Inc., Carnal Dialysis, Necrosadistic Goat Torture, Beer Can Pentagram, and Reptilian War Machine. Which one sounds made up?
They all sound made up. They all sound dumb. I mean, I have no clue. I'll go with the second one.
Oh, God, you are so sharp. Yes.
Is that
Carnal Dialysis is made up. Yes. All the others are real.
Wow.
I should have known.
That was a total egg toss.
I spent forever today on metal archives, and I'm like, wow, dialysis is not in any metal band name ever.
Good.
So I'll give it a shot.
That's funny as hell. That is
Oh,
funny as hell.
I love Beer Can Pentagram, though. I do think that's a great name.
That was my
Yeah,
favorite of the 5. It
that's
was.
great. It sounds like almost like a band that'd be from like Dundalk or something, you know. Ooh,
Yeah.
Beer Can Pentagram is from Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Wow.
real.
We're actually going out next week. We're going on tour for 10 days. We're running from Seattle. We're going to do a metal fest in Seattle with Gore Guts. I don't know who's playing tonight. We're playing, but Gore Guts is on there. Hyrax is on there. I'll see if he's got his
Cool.
vest.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think there's another Agalock is playing. I think Demolition Hammer's on it, and then we're going to be playing states we've never played. So this is when you were just saying all these weird places. Like we're going to Montana, we're going to North Dakota, South Dakota. We're trying all those
Nice.
upper states, and we're going to end up at Milwaukee Metal Fest playing with Trouble. So that could
Wow.
be pretty
That's
neat.
great.
Yeah, that's when you were saying that. I was just thinking about some of these states. You just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I can't remember when we played 2 years ago, but they were like, "There's nobody in this town," and we went to play the show, and it was all teenage. It was mostly teenage girls, and they were literally swinging each other in a pit into the wall. And I was like, it was a Monday night. I was like, man, this town is weird. There's still weird towns. That made me happy though. I was like, oh, there's still
Like the Blues Brothers. We like both kinds of music, country and western.
That's
You know,
right.
that's what you're thinking.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it was. And it was the weirdest thing. There was a light behind us, and when it came on, it just lit up. Fuck. They'd written "fuck" with the light bulbs, and I was like, "Let that go, man."
Wow.
So after the first song, I was like, "Yeah, I guess I'm the principal tonight," and I say "fuck shit up," and we were off and running.
My God. So if on a big festival like that, if you had to pick 3 survival items, what would they be
Survival items,
that you have to have?
just to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would need a lot of Gatorade. That's one.
Okay.
I guess I would need some good food. I notice a lot of these festivals have some really raunchy food. Like we just played at the Hell's Heroes in Texas, and it was some good food. But by the time we got there, it was all gone. So I would need like a nice buffet, a train buffet. Though I don't eat as much as I used to. I'm really guessing. And then third, just a nice bed afterwards to go lay down and watch Three's Company reruns on all night. I'm easygoing. And not have to sit through a lot of bad death metal bands.
Yeah. Yeah. Could they make Joyce DeWitt's shorts any shorter? I mean, that's the question, you know? Yeah.
I met her. She was so kind because she doesn't do the conventions. And Three's Company is my favorite TV show. And I went up and they always have like Priscilla Barnes would be there and like Larry would be there. But I went there and I saw Priscilla as I always did. And I walked away and someone said, "Oh, you missed the girl you liked from Three's Company." I said, "No, I saw her." She goes, "No, the brunette." I said, "Joyce DeWitt's here." I turned around and she had just come to visit Priscilla. So I walked and was like, and my wife was like, "This is his favorite show and you're his favorite one." She's like, "Oh, thank you." And she was so kind. And then somebody goes, "You really should sit down, Joyce, and make about a couple $1,000 real quick. We'll go through the autograph pictures inside that people sell. We'll buy up all the Joyce DeWitt ones, and then you just put your name to them and whatever." She's like, "They do that here?" And then they were like, "Yeah, you can make a lot of money." She's like, "What do you charge?" She's like, "Some people up to $100." She's like, "Oh, I could never. So she was charging $20, which was super fair.
Wow.
And she comes to me, and it was a little girl with us, and she goes to me. She goes, "Oh, this one here. I've got one of my buttons down on my blouse. Oh, I don't want your daughter to see this." It wasn't my daughter, but I was like, "Really?" She goes, "I'm going to give you 2. One for you where the button's undone. One button is undone." She was like, "This is my sexy shot," and then the other one, which was just like a regular. I don't even know if you can see it in my thing. It's actually on the wall. It's actually back there. I got my whole Three's Company thing back there.
Oh,
Larry
that's
was
so
cool.
cool.
I met him with Schneider from One Day at a Time, same time kind of thing. So it was fun. But yeah, Joyce DeWitt's the best. She really is.
Oh yeah. That's so cool.
So I had some horror movie questions for you. Out of all that you've seen, which one do you think you'd have the best chance of surviving, and which one do you think you're going down in the first scene?
What was it? What was the first part of the question?
All the horror movies that you've seen.
Oh, what would be my best chance of the one I'm going down instantly? I don't think I would last any of these zombie outbreak movies at all. I mean, I would just go out there and be like, "What?" And that's it. The movie's over. What? The one I could survive. Maybe the older zombie movies where they're moving so slow that nobody comes. I hate to be blah about it, but yeah, probably the fast moving ones they're going to get me. The slow moving ones I'm going to make it to it, even though I'm a speed metal freak.
Yeah.
I just open the door. Who's at my door? Ooh, and that's it.
Yeah.
For the movie, 8 seconds. The King Fowley killings.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Last of Us, that series on HBO with the frickin' fun? They are some fast zombies.
Yeah, they got it moving really fast now. Like 28 days later, I know they weren't really zombies, but that's one of my favorites. I like that one. I really like that opening scene. If you guys have seen that one, where he's like wakes up and he's in England and everything's down, and all of a sudden he makes a noise and then everything's up and looking at him and after him, and just really cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could score a horror film using only deceased tracks, what movie would you pick?
I would like to do Burn Offerings, which is the 76 one with Karen Black, and I would like to get that tune we did, Mrs. Allardyce, on there. I think it would have been cool, and then also as a credit run, and then have my own little stuff. A friend of mine who actually owns the Living Dead dolls. He makes the Living Dead dolls. He was talking about a movie like 25 years ago, and one of the pieces I wrote for it, if we used the soundtrack, ended up on Children of the Morgue, which in between as an interlude. It sat for 25 years, and I just kind of slowed it down and used it there. But I would say Burn Offerings for sure. It's just something about that. If I needed a backup, it would be Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
And what's your favorite movie scene death that you secretly enjoy best?
My favorite movie that I do what? I'm sorry.
Your favorite on-screen death.
Oh, of any movie? It's got to be Quint from Jaws. It's either Quint from Jaws or it's Joe Pesci in Casino. Those two. I mean, it's just you feel it. You really feel it. Actually,
I remember this one year, my brother, for my birthday, he gets me I get a present, and it's a scroll, so it's obviously a poster, and I have no idea what it's going to be. I open it up, and it's, this dog looks one way, this dog looks the other way. What do you want from me? And I was like, I love you. This is the perfect gift. Thank you. What have I told you about my painting? I don't know where he got it, but it's proudly hanging in my room. Yeah. Yeah. Goodfellas, incredible. Another one, Casino. I want an equal number of blueberries in every muffin.
Yeah.
How random is that scene? Like, he can't focus on the conversation because of the muffins. What is that?
Yeah, it's
I have spent so much time thinking about that.
My wife. I think my wife's more of a Casino, and I'm more of a Goodfellas guy. Goodfellas for me is just so good.
I love both of them, but I just like, there's always that really weird scene where you just wonder, like, why are we here? Why are we focused on blueberries? Why are we focused on mom's paintings?
I think he was just literally, they were showing you how he was focused on detail. How much he was locked in on detail of that damn thing.
All right, I got one more for you.
Sure.
How great is it that Bobby Liebling is currently the most famous man in metal?
It's weird as hell, man.
Isn't that weird?
It's weird as hell to see him everywhere.
I would have never thought that teenage girls would be on TikTok trying to be Bobby Liebling now. I mean, isn't that crazy?
Who knew that? It's so the pentagram story is so weird, being that I'm from Arlington, and that's kind of where they
yeah. We talked about it last time. Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, they were a joke. They were a joke when they were death row and all that. Like, everybody was just like, "No, they're bad. Oh, that's just some local bullshit." And then basically, Pellet, Sean Pellet, he wrote that story, and then Relapse and got it around, and it turned everything for them, and they toured the whole world. Our bass player Walter, that plays live with us, he actually didn't do when you just saw us. He was in Pentagram for a while.
Yeah.
And he knows those when Bobby wasn't showing up stories, but it's wild, man. It really is wild. I'm so glad you guys are doing good. It was so nice to see you guys. It was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, anytime you come around.
I do want to tell you this. So what we're doing is Labor Day weekend. It's in DC. I'll send you the ad or the flyer. We're going to be doing the 40th anniversary show. It's on Friday night, Labor Day weekend in August, the last weekend, and we're going to have all the guys play, including people that don't usually play. We're going to have 8 men on stage. We're calling it basically the Allman Brothers Jam.
Okay.
We're going to play for an hour and 20 minutes, a lot of the old stuff, and just have 8 guys up there and celebrate. That'll be our one time this year we get to DC. I know we did the corner.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Friday nights are perfect for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll send it to you. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be at a real big, like a 500 capacity place in DC. It's gonna be us, a band called No Moss. You know No Moss?
I don't
You
know. I
them?
don't know. I will
Hardcore
soon
guys,
though.
local
Yeah.
band, and then Abominog, which is my buddies. We play all the
Okay.
time with them. It's going to be 3 bands, and it's going to be a good night. It's just going to
Great.
celebrate the 40th anniversary of Deceased playing and all that kind of shit. So,
That's
Amazing.
awesome.
Very cool.
I love it.
All right, my friend. This was great.
it's great
Well,
seeing
thank
you guys. Seriously, please
Great
keep
seeing you.
touch.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.